Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 19 of A Year of Change. I'm going to deviate a little bit from what we've been talking about this week. This week has been very centered on sort of advice and changes and stuff like that. But I just sort of want to revisit something that I had mentioned yesterday that got me thinking. And it was in regards to the collar on my shirt, how it sort of droops down and was driving me crazy when I was editing. But I figure it's something that warrants talking about, not the color itself, but just the constant adjusting and tucking and smoothing and poking and picking and everything that we all do. Not necessarily as a way to make ourselves look good, but sort of another one of those defense mechanisms to do the best with what we have. Now, I should preface this. This is really aimed at what I feel is probably the vast majority of us that look in the mirror and don't like what we see. We understand how we look. We understand how it makes us feel. And so we try to make the best of a bad situation. There are some of you that are out there that are watching this that have gone so far one way that you've given up and you just don't care anymore. So you'll go to the store in just your underwear, and it doesn't seem to matter. That's just where you've progressed to because of the amount of ridicule that you've received, maybe, or whatever your situation is. And then there are others of you that are to a stage where it doesn't matter how big you get, you still think that you look good. So you'll go to the beach in a bikini, and it won't bother you. Those are two separate stories that I think warrant their own video later on down the line. But for right now, I just sort of want to address this to what I feel is probably the majority, which are the ones that obviously don't like what we see. It's why you're watching these videos. And do the best with what we have to just try to minimize the amount of, ridicule that we do receive in the run of a day. So, I guess when I talk about sort of those self-adjustments, it's everyone does it. Fat people and normal people alike, they all do those little adjustments throughout the day. When you're at work or you're outside or something, you just make sure that your hair looks good, or those of you that have hair, your hair looks good and your clothes are tidy. There's no spots or anything like that. But I think that's sort of more of a feeling of they want to present themselves positively. They want to be able to look good. Not necessarily peacocking, but to a point where they say, no, okay, I look good, I'm presentable, and things are good that way. Whereas with us, when we're making those adjustments, it's more defensive than offensive. We're making sure that things aren't poking out or looking weird, or our pants aren't ripped or something like that. It's because we know throughout the run of a day, we're going to, whether it's real or perceived, we're going to experience someone's judgment. And so it's better to just not add fuel to the fire, not to give them that additional ammunition, so that it's a bit of a protective thing for us. So there's a big difference between talking to someone and getting that feeling from them where they're saying, my God, how did they get so fat? And having them think, my God, how did they get so fat? And look, their pants have fallen down. So it's, I suppose, a way to minimize, in our head anyway, any perceived judgment that we're going to be receiving throughout the day. Now, I understand that a lot of this may be, you could probably classify it as paranoia. But it's just because we've had it for so long, we've experienced that throughout our lives for such a long time. Because when you're younger, people really don't seem to have a problem saying something out loud. When you're an adult, they don't often say it. You can tell they're thinking it. And every now and then you'll get some ignoramus who actually will say something out loud. And it still hurts just as much as it did when you were a child. But I think it comes somewhat from us being very much aware of ourselves and our surroundings. Normal people seem to think that we don't know that we're fat. So you'll get those comments every now and then of someone saying, you really need to lose weight, or you should go to the gym, or you shouldn't be eating that, as if it's brand new to us, as that they are the first person to have ever suggested it. And which obviously is not the case. We are very much aware. In some cases, we're hyper aware of our surroundings, in that if you're getting on a bus or walking down a hallway, you're very aware of who's coming towards you, who's around you, because you don't want to put yourself in those situations where you're going to be embarrassed again. Like if someone's coming towards you in a hall, you'll step to the side, you'll find a little alcove that you can go into to let a crowd go by. Even if it's not needed, hallways are fairly wide, but it's that, again, that defense mechanism to what happens if something does go wrong. It's very difficult to try to explain to someone who's a normal size that you can look at a situation, like a chair in an office, for example, or a bus seat, and think, will I fit in there? It's a very foreign thought for a human being to have. And it's not something that I think a lot of skinny people would actually even contemplate at any point in their life. And it's not just a matter of will I fit, but if I do fit in there, can I get out? If it's a chair, is it going to make a noise? Is it not necessarily going to break, but is it going to make a noise, which is just as embarrassing? Will I have to get help to get back out of it? Like all these little things, and there are other other examples that you could have as well. Something as simple as someone having a really tiny car. These are all things that we have to be aware of at all times, because there are many of us that, when you are in those settings and someone will say, no, have a seat. And you're, no, I'm fine just standing. And you don't want to say, I'm sorry, I'm too fat. I think I might cause damage to a chair and embarrass myself in front of this room of people. Rather than do that, again, we sort of step back, try to avoid as much embarrassment as we can, and just remain standing. And that's the same sort of thing with the adjustments. Just making sure that everything is where it should be, nothing's going to fall out or roll out or anything else, and have ourselves somewhat presentable, I suppose, but protected, I think is probably a better term for it. And as I say, it could be classified as some sort of paranoia, but it's a learned paranoia from it. And deep down, I understand that a lot of us, while we're still thinking it every now and then, we probably know that it's not the case, that every single person is thinking this. But it is still hard to break free of that. To give you an example, there's a parking lot where I work is way, way, way up on a huge, steep hill. And it takes about 5-10 minutes just to walk to the top of it. And it's far behind the building, probably 300 or 400 feet before the hill starts. And by the end of it, you are well above the building. And the other day, I ended up having to park up there, and so I thought, okay, well, it's not a problem. It's after work. I don't care if I get all sweaty and gross. I'll just shower when I get home, so I'll go up the hill. So there's no one else around. There's no one in the parking lot below me. There's, maybe 1 or 2 people up that are driving by. And yet, as I'm walking up this hill, and there's still a part of me that's thinking there are people in the building that are sitting at their desk, staring out at this bald, fat ball walking up the hill, panting and wheezing and sweating, and the comments that may be coming out. And the logical part of me says that they have work to do. They are doing their work, and they either didn't notice, or if they did, they aren't going to have time to do this. But that paranoid part of me still thinks, no, there's people standing out there watching. So try not to look like you're out of breath. Make it look as if you're not struggling all the way up. So you're fine, and everything was good. Got in the car, and then, of course, just, all the way home and for an hour afterwards. So it comes from that as well, that I know in my head, just like many of you, that it's not really happening that way, but it's become so ingrained part of us that it's just a constant defense that we put up. And that's where these adjustments come from. So that they may not look at us and say, oh, well, they look really good. But they can look and go, well, at least they're trying. We know what they look like, but at least they're trying. So now, this isn't obviously everyone. I mean, there are people that prefer, super, super fat people, just like there are people that prefer super, super skinny people. And so I'm not judging the people that are judging us. There is, for those that are saying cruel things, obviously, yes, I'm going to judge them. They're idiots. But for the vast majority of people, they're judging us, but rightly so. Because we are, I don't want to say abnormal, but although we're the majority, it isn't a normal body style, or body type, I should say. But as I say, there are preferences one way or the other, and if you find someone that likes that, or if you're one of those people that do like that, one way or the other, then bravo, go for it. If you can find someone that you can talk to and, make a connection with, and your weight doesn't matter to them, or even if they prefer it that way, then by all means, go for it. Be happy. But I'm mainly just talking about the vast majority of people that see someone that looks like me or you, and they do have those judgments. And I don't judge them in return for it. I understand why they would do it. And as I say, it is somewhat justified. We are this way for a reason. And it's not healthy. It's not attractive. Some of you out there can say, no, that's big is beautiful. But you can try to blame TV or movies or video games or comic books or whatever. But the reality is, unfortunately, it's not. And it doesn't matter if you say, oh, in some cultures it is, but not ours. And in some other cultures, yes, it is. But that's not where we live. It's not the world that we live in. So people do judge us. And you can't really fault them for it. Because we do stand out. Even though the majority of us, or the majority of the population, is fat, it's still, when you have someone that is really, really big, it still comes as a shock to them. So it is going to happen, and we will see it. We will put up those defenses, and part of that sort of picking and plucking at ourselves all the time is part of that. So I didn't really want to get this into like a poor me sort of thing. Nothing triggered this. No one has said anything or done anything. And, this isn't something that I thought, oh, I need to just come home and vent. It's just that it reminded me of that yesterday, and I thought I would sort of elaborate a bit, and also to share with you that, because I know there are a lot of you out there that do the same thing. You're always just on alert, thinking, do I look okay? Is everything where it should be? Nothing's torn, nothing's ripped, nothing's showing. Things aren't falling out. Do I, try to make myself look as slim as I can, the girth that I am? So just another one of those you're not alone moments where there are other people out there that are doing the same thing and that still have those thoughts that you do, that, you look at someone that they might just be trying to recognize you. They may have seen you before and think, I don't know who they are. But in your head, you're thinking, oh, they're looking at me going, how the hell did they get themselves so big? So, that sort of paranoia, that hyper-awareness of our surroundings and things like that, it's a shared experience, I think, with a lot of us. But not that you shouldn't be. We've all run into those people that really don't have any idea how big they are. And even we can look at it and say, no, don't sit there. There's no room. And some of us may have done it ourselves. There are those of us that, think that we're smaller than we actually are. And there are those of us that think we're bigger than we actually are. So, but I think overall, we all know that there are certain things that we simply can't do. Certain things that we shouldn't do. And certain things we avoid doing just on the off chance something bad might happen. But I'm starting to ramble again. So I thought I was through that, and I'm sure I've said a number of times. I haven't been paying attention, so if I have, I apologize again. But that's it for this. I just sort of wanted to do a quick little share with you. Just to let you know, once again, you're not alone in this. Sometimes as we're going through this, we're going to have those times when it's mainly advice saying, oh, well, try adding water or try this instead of that. And we tend to forget that, or I tend to forget, I should say, that there are still a lot of psychological things that sort of go hand in hand that we are still going to need to talk about. Not that it's going to be super heavy or depressing or anything else, but just to let you know that, you're not alone. There are other people out there that are doing the same thing. And I know that during this video, some of you are like, I've done that. I've done that exact same thing. So hopefully this makes you feel a little bit better. But for right now, that's it. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.